The opinions expressed during this show are not necessarily those of this station, its employees, or advertisers, but are solely the opinions of the host and the guests that appear on the show. It's time now for Tea Party Talk with TomZ, hosted by Tom Zawistowski, president of the We the People Convention and executive director of the Portage County Tea Party. Get ready to become a totally engaged American who is informed about the critical issues that are affecting the welfare and individual rights of all Americans today.
S&K Asphalt and Concrete has been serving residential, commercial, and industrial customers since 1988 with quality paving services. The experts at S&K Asphalt and Concrete have the knowledge and experience to meet your paving needs. From parking lots to driveways to repairs and resurfacing, S&K paves the way. Call today for a free estimate. 330-724-9090. That's 330-724-9090. Or visit online at skasphaltconcrete.com.
Are you concerned about your family's safety? Now, Target Thing Pro Shop is a female-friendly gun shop, range, and training center. Target Thing is in Garrettsville. We're on the web at targetthing.com. Target Thing is where they offer guns, ammo, and training to help you keep your family safe. Target Thing Pro Shop.
Fed up with politicians who care more about special interests than people on Main Street? So is Opportunity Ohio. We're working hard to solve Ohio's toughest challenges so Ohioans can create more jobs to grow our economy. See our plans and consider a tax-deductible contribution at opportunityohio.org. Invest $25 for a signed copy of Matt Mayer's book, The Founding Debate, Where Should the Power Over Our Lives Reside? Please visit opportunityohio.org.
Well, good morning. And my name is Tom Zawistowski, and I want to thank you for taking your time to join me this morning to listen to Tea Party Talk with TomZ and kind of get a feel for what the Tea Party thinks about the issues of the day. We appreciate you doing that. Those of you who are listening or watching the live video stream on Wednesday mornings at 10:30 a.m., where you can catch that stream at Tea Party Talk with TomZ and watch the video archives anytime you want. And for all of you listening on WHLO 640 in Akron, Ohio, at 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings in Ohio and even in Michigan and Western Pennsylvania and parts of Indiana. Thanks to all of you for joining us for this discussion today. There's some pretty important things going on that we want to talk about. And I always tell you to tune in for the truth here on Tea Party Talk. And I really try to work hard to give you information that maybe you're not getting in other sources and trying to help you understand the events that are going on that affect you and your family and your future and our country. Because that's what the Tea Party is all about. And I always tell people that I don't speak for the Tea Party, even though the name of the show is Tea Party Talk with TomZ, because no one speaks for the entire Tea Party. The Tea Party is individual groups throughout the country. There's over 200 of them here in Ohio that make up their own minds about how they feel about things. But I do have my finger on the pulse of the Tea Party. I know these people. I talk with them. I meet with them. I go to their meetings. And so I think I can have a pretty good ability to explain to you, how the Tea Party, looks at various things. And the events that are going on today reflect that very, very much, because the Tea Party is really about individual freedom and liberty, supporting the Constitution of the United States, which gives you that freedom and liberty, and why that's important, how capitalism and free markets are what really drive America and made the United States, the greatest country in the history of the world. And there's things going on out there today that are undermining that. And a lot of those are going on in Baltimore, Maryland. We're going to talk about that. Before I go there, though, I tell you that you come here for the truth. And last week I made a mistake, and I need to own up to that, because I was talking about Earth Day and how it was no coincidence that Earth Day was named after the founder of the Soviet Union. And I said it was Stalin, but it was actually Lenin. So I stand corrected. Earth Day is actually Lenin's birthday. And again, as I said last week, it has nothing to do with protecting the environment. It's about communism. It's about attacking capitalism. It's about attacking industry. And it's just an excuse to try to hamper our ability to let you live the life you want to live, to do the things you want to do. And, that's part of why you listen to the show, so you can hear different opinions and why that is. So let's get on with the topic at hand, and that's what's going on in Baltimore, Maryland, which has been the top of the news. And, none of us want to see what's going on in Baltimore, Maryland. And it's really important that we understand why what is going on in Baltimore, Maryland is going on in Baltimore, Maryland. And Steny Hoyer, a hack Democrat from Maryland who's been in politics way too long, came out with a statement saying that, what we need in Baltimore is more federal money. And I'm going to prove to you today that that's just a lie and why it's a lie. And a good place to start is with the Baltimore mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, who infamously said that she wanted to give those who wish to destroy space to do that. Said it from her own lips, live on TV, and then proceeded to tell the media that they were twisting her words and she never said that. And the fact of the matter is this stellar Oberlin College graduate, where people go to learn how not to think. Oberlin College, by the way, is in Northeast Ohio here. It's a place of incredible hatred and bigotry and anti-Americanism, and you go there to learn how not to think. You go there to be indoctrinated. And clearly, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, the African-American mayor of Baltimore, got high grades at Oberlin College, because basically what she was doing is she was defending the rights of protesters over the rights of the other citizens. And she tried to say that they're destroying things, their violence is appropriate. She actually tried to equate it with free speech. Okay? Nothing could be further from the truth. Her responsibility as mayor is to protect private property. But the indoctrinated Democratic left hates private property, hates individual wealth. It's all about the state. It's all about stateism. And so what's great about Baltimore, for those of you listening to this show, is that it is a perfect example of why liberal, regressive, democratic policies fail and will always fail. They never work. They never have worked. It's a complete lie. And the people of Baltimore, Maryland, and particularly the African Americans of Baltimore, Maryland, and all over this country are the ones who are the victims of that lie. They're the ones whose lives have been destroyed. So we're going to start with some facts, okay, about Baltimore that maybe you haven't heard, okay? Let's start with the fact that single-parent households in Baltimore are 60%. 60% of the households are single-family. And if you're watching the video stream, I've got a screen up here on the screen that says, slavery did not destroy black families. Welfare did. And that, folks, is the fact. Before the 1960s, black families, there were more black women married than white women. The marriage rate between a man and a woman in the African-American community before the 1960s, going into the 1950s, was higher than white America. Today, it's like 30%. Why is that? Well, that's because of laws. That's because of Democrat Lyndon Johnson changed the laws in 1960s to basically create the welfare state. And the welfare state says, I will pay you money if you're a single woman. So guess what you get? A lot of single women. A lot of single women, right? So let's go back to the facts about Baltimore, Maryland. So not only is there single-parent households 60% in Baltimore, Maryland, the percentage of population in poverty is 25.6%. And in the areas of the riots, it's 50%. Okay? Well, so why is that? Is it because, like Steny Hoyer said, that you and we just don't care enough? We need to give them more federal money. Yeah, well, let me talk to you about the money that's going into places like Baltimore. In Baltimore, Maryland, as this article I've got on the screen from the Baltimore Sun says, in Maryland it pays not to work. A mother with two children, unmarried woman with two children in Baltimore, Maryland, gets $35,672 a year to not work. To not work. So there's 7 different, programs that you can get assistance from. Temporary assistance for needy families, Medicaid, food stamps, WIC program, housing assistance, utility assistance, and free commodities. You can receive $35,000 for not working. Guess what, folks? That's the 10th highest in the United States. We're giving the people in Baltimore more money. You and I, our tax dollars, our federal income tax, on April 15th, when you paid for your taxes, that money goes to places like Baltimore, Maryland, where we're paying people $35,000 not to work. Okay? So that's a fact. And I say, you come here for the truth. And the truth is things that can be documented, that are not my opinion, that are not subjective, that are objective facts. That's a facts. We pay people in Baltimore the 10th highest amount of money in the United States in welfare. So what else do we do in Baltimore? Well, we have our per capita student spending. Okay, our per pupil spending in Baltimore, Maryland. You know what that is? $15,483 per student, and that was in 2011. I guarantee you that's over $16,000 today. You know how that ranks, folks? That ranks second in the nation. We pay more for kids to go to school in Baltimore, Maryland than any other place in the country except for New York City. Okay? So we're paying them for welfare. We're paying for their schools. So what's wrong? Why isn't this working? Right? Well, let's go back and say our high school graduation rate in Baltimore, Maryland is 75%. But you know what? That's not true either, because only 46% of the high school graduates, quote unquote, in Baltimore schools pass the high school assessment test. We're graduating people who don't know anything. Why are we graduating people who don't know anything? Because our schools are horrible. Why are our schools horrible? Because they're not schools. They're employment programs for adults. That's why the unions control the schools, not the parents, and the students aren't served. The union and the teachers are served. And we'll talk more about that in a second. What else is going on in Baltimore, Maryland? How about black unemployment rate is 41% of black men aged 25 to 54. And that's, the youth unemployment is 37% for those who are 20 to 24 years old. So let me ask you, we're paying the money for them to go to school, but they're not getting educated, right? They're growing up in single-parent homes, right? And Steny Hoyer says the problem is we're not giving them more money. You know what we're not giving them? We're not giving them more freedom, more liberty, more chance to have entrepreneurship. You know what the solution to this problem is? Fathers and jobs. Fathers and jobs are the solution to this problem. Okay? But when you are paying people not to have fathers, and the NAACP are the most hypocritical people in this country, and the Black Congressional Caucus are the plantation owners, folks. These people are kept on the government plantation by people like the mayor of Baltimore. That's who keeps them on the plantation, and the police chief, because they have the black city councilmen, and they have black mayors, and they have black everything, and we have a black president, and we had a black attorney general, and now we have a black woman attorney general. Their policies are what fail, because you can't pay people to make them prosperous. They have to work to make themselves prosperous. But when the President of the United States and Eric Holder, his former Attorney General, thank God, are ginning up these young black men and saying, the white people are holding you down, and the rich people are holding you down. The 1% are holding you down. No. The only people holding you down is your government, state, federal, and local. The newly elected Republican governor of Maryland went and said he wants to do vouchers so you could go to any school you want and make the schools compete because their schools are graded an F. And he was attacked viciously by the teachers union and the mayor and everyone else because they don't believe in capitalism. They don't believe in competition. They don't believe in letting blacks off the government plantation. We in the Tea Party do, and that's what we're going to fight for. We'll be back with more after these messages. You're listening to Tea Party Talk with TomZ.
I'm Nick Skiriotis, president of S&K Asphalt and Concrete. As a Greek immigrant who came to America legally, my family and I have lived the American dream of freedom, hope, and opportunity. But that dream is fading due to an out-of-control federal government that is mixed up worse than a soup sandwich. We have a president who is putting more and more regulations on businesses, which is stomping economic and job growth. Government has taken more and more of our freedoms. They have taken over our health care and are trying to take over our schools with Common Core. We as Americans must wake up, get involved before it is too late. We must fight to preserve the America our founders created, a nation that was founded on faith, family, and freedom. The fight is not easy, but anything worth fighting for never is. Our founders paid a heavy price for freedom. 5 of them did not live to see the independence they were fighting for. 9 of them were tortured. 12 of them lost everything they owned, and 3 of them lost their families. Now it is our turn to sacrifice and to fight to preserve our freedoms and the American dream. I am Nick Skiriotis, president of SNK Asphalt and Concrete, and I approve this message.
Fed up with politicians who care more about special interests than people on Main Street? So is Opportunity Ohio. We're working hard to solve Ohio's toughest challenges so Ohioans can create more jobs to grow our economy. See our plans and consider a tax-deductible contribution at opportunityohio.org. Invest $25 for a signed copy of Matt Mayer's book, The Founding Debate: Where Should the Power Over Our Lives Reside? Please visit opportunityohio.org.
All right, and we are back, and I appreciate you being with us this morning. We were talking about the situation in Baltimore, Maryland, and how it is the perfect example of failed, regressive, liberal, democratic policies, okay? And that's why you should never vote, ever, for a Democrat, because they don't believe in what made America great. They don't believe that their schools should have to compete and that you should have a choice of what schools you should go to, right? They want to control you. That's why, I talked on the show about, the Governor Kasich, who, you should also never vote for the liberal, big government Republicans like John Kasich and Rob Portman and John Boehner. We're going to be talking about Portman next. But we talk about Obamacare and we talk about Kasich's Medicaid expansion, okay? The Tea Party is not only against these things because it's bad policy. It's making the cost of insurance go up. It's decreasing the quality of health care. Those are all great reasons to hate it. But the Tea Party knows that Obamacare is the death knell for our nation because when you give government the ability to control your health, they control you. It's a liberty issue. That's why we say don't support Obamacare, because you don't want someone telling you what operation you can get or not. You want to pay for your own insurance. You want them to work for you. You don't want to be a slave to the government like these poor blacks are in Baltimore. Folks, what are these kids supposed to do? They don't even have a high school diploma. So what else can you do but sell drugs? And so what else can the police do but incarcerate these people because they're selling drugs, which is against the law? They're breaking into places and robbing to get the money to buy drugs. Okay? It's a vicious cycle caused by the Democratic Party. This has to stop. It doesn't work. Set the black people free. Get them off the plantation. We need to change our policies. And, of course, that's only going to happen if you and I take action. Okay? And by the way, I had a list of the top 10 cities as far as single families. Yeah, we can be real proud in Northeast Ohio because East Cleveland, the single families, are 73% in East Cleveland. Every Democratic city is failing. Can you get the message? Their policies don't work. It's if you can't open a business in Baltimore without the unions and the government taking a chunk of your money and saying, you got to have our permission, right? That's not entrepreneurism. That's why those kids don't have jobs. And they don't go to school because there's no hope for jobs. And you know what? They don't go to school because you say, well, if you don't go to school, we'll just pay you to not work. Come on. It's just common sense. We've met the enemy. It's the Democratic Party. And many of you listen to this show support them. And that's your fault. You need to step up and understand what America's about. Another person needs to step up and unfortunately isn't going to step up because he doesn't have the guts to step up is Republican Senator Rob Portman. Last time I talked with Rob Portman, he looked me in the eyes when we were having this discussion about his coming out in favor of gay marriage because his son is gay. And he said to me, I thought you were one of my best friends. And I said, Rob, I am one of your best friends because I'm the only person that will tell you the truth. But he doesn't want to hear the truth. And he doesn't want to stand for anything. And this Republican, so-called Republican, who is not a Republican, voted to confirm Loretta Lynch as the new Attorney General. And he voted to do that, folks, not because of principle, right? Not because you who voted for him, wanted him to vote for Loretta Lynch. He voted for her simply because Mitch McConnell, the other coward, and we'll talk about him next, said that, you better vote for this or the Democrats will have a way to attack you in the election. Way to stand on principle, Rob. Way to stand on principle. Because, folks, guess what? This, and I love the stories that say, well, Republican senators were being intimidated because people were saying you weren't confirming her because she was a woman, okay? And you're sexist. And you weren't confirming her because she's a black woman and you're a racist. And these weaklings, these people who are so pliable because they stand for nothing, Rob Portman doesn't push back against that and say, you know why I'm going to not vote for Loretta, for this woman to be the Attorney General? Because she doesn't believe in the Constitution. She was asked in the hearings flat out, do you support President Obama? Do you believe President Obama has the right to just change the law? And that if that is constitutional, and would you do anything to stand against that? And she did not. Okay? She said, I agree with the president. Mitch McConnell himself said that he made a campaign pledge that no one will be confirmed for Attorney General unless they stand up against the president's illegal action on immigration. And then she testifies honestly. She says, no, I'm going to support that. And Mitch McConnell himself voted for Loretta Lynch. Okay? This woman should not have been confirmed because she's not qualified. If you hired a lawyer to help you in your business, and he tells you should forge contracts, right? You would fire that lawyer or you wouldn't hire him because they're doing unlawful things. Loretta Lynch says that she's going to support the unconstitutional behavior of the President of the United States, and Rob Portman voted for her. This is the same woman who our good friends at Buckeye Firearms pointed out, okay, supports President Obama's ban on certain firearms, okay? She's anti-gun, and Rob Portman voted for her. This is why Rob Portman is not going to be the senator from Ohio. This is why Ted Strickland, the Democrat, is going to win. Because there isn't a social conservative in this state that will stand with Rob Portman because he lied to them. He campaigned as being for natural marriage, changed in the middle of his term to say he was for gay marriage, but then he started to advocate for it and became a poster child for it. We're not voting for you, Rob. We're not working for you, Rob. We're not donating to you. And now you're against guns, right? So you're not going to get the NRA people. And you're not going to get the NRA endorsement. And you endorse Loretta Lynch, who's unconstitutional, who does not support the Constitution. And so the Tea Party is not going to support you, Rob. So here's a memo to the Ohio Republican Party. You better find a Republican to run for senator, or Ted Strickland's going to be the Democratic senator from Ohio. You can take that to the bank. Rob Portman hasn't done anything in his term of office except try to placate people and play to the base or play to cast votes simply to keep power and to get reelected. It's disgusting. And Rob, I can't be more disappointed in you. Friend or not, you're a failure. You don't deserve our support. You certainly don't deserve the support of conservatives. Speaking of other people who we need to be watching, last week the Ohio House passed this massive spending bill, the largest budget in the history of Ohio, okay? And the Tea Party groups came out against that. And the reason we came out against that was, A, because John Kasich's Medicaid expansion is supported by this budget, right? A budget that is, that we just can't afford. And then number two, because of the spending. And all the people in the House, came out and said, well, we voted for it because it was the most conservative budget we've seen. Okay? And they say conservative because they got rid of John Kasich's plans for a severance tax and for some new, sales taxes, right? And they approved a tax cut for Ohio citizens, an income tax cut. Okay? And they had this thing in there called PLAs. A PLA is a project labor agreement, okay, that allows unions to negotiate wages and terms for workers on construction sites before any of them are even hired. The union-dictated rules then apply to all bidders, including non-union employers. This raises the cost of government projects by like 18%. And the House took these PLAs out and said, you don't need them. And they all voted to pass this spending budget because of those reasons. So now I want to talk to all you guys in the House, and I want to talk to all you listeners and everybody in the Tea Party movement, because all those House members who voted for it, because those things were in, well, now they're going to have to vote against it when it comes back from the Senate, because the Senate's going to take all those things that the governor wanted and put them back in. All the fixes that the House made are going to be gone in the Senate. And now we're going to see those so-called conservatives and so-called Republicans who said this is the most conservative budget they've ever passed. Well, when it gets changed back to the budget the governor gave, will they stand strong and vote no? They have to vote no, because the reason they voted yes will no longer apply. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's another drama that's coming down the path. And the Senate better understand that you're not going to be able to get away with it. You put all the Kasich things back in, you're not going to get the votes in the House, and it's not going to pass. Our friend John McAvoy from Toledo Tea Party did a great thing, when we were fighting the House members, and he sent out a flyer that said, during last May's elections, the Ohio GOP sent out a card telling us, vote Republicans to stop Obamacare. And then all the people in the House voted for Obamacare, voted for Medicaid expansion, which is Obamacare. The other thing our friends in the House did, and it was led by Mike Davila from Berea, which is also Northeast Ohio, was they changed the primary. They moved the Republican primary 1 week. Now, a lot of you didn't pick up on that. Like, so what's the big deal, right? Primary is supposed to be the first Tuesday in March of next year. This is the presidential primary. And they felt it was so important to move that primary to the second Tuesday. Geez, why was that? Guy, you know why that was, folks? Because the Republican Party, the National RNC, said that anybody that had their primary during the first 2 weeks of March, the delegates had to be done proportionally, okay? Meaning that everybody that won a percentage of the vote would get the delegates they won. But by moving the primary back 1 week, it becomes a winner-take-all primary. And who does that help? Well, that helps John Kasich. Because if John Kasich can get 25% of the primary vote next year, and Jeb Bush gets 20, and Scott Walker gets 20, and Rand Paul gets 15, and Ted Cruz gets 10, John Kasich gets all the delegates to take to the convention in Cleveland. So all you people who want to vote for those other people, your vote doesn't count. John Kasich, the Ohio Republican Party, wanted to make sure that your vote doesn't count because they're trying to rig the election, just like John Kasich did with the governor's election. They're trying to rig the Ohio primary. And we're fighting it in the Tea Party. This has gone to the Senate, and we're going to try to fight it there. The bottom line is, don't believe what they tell you. The real reason is they don't respect your vote. They're trying to stop you from having the right to vote. And that's what the Tea Party does, is fight to defend your rights. So, Mr. Davila, thanks for trying to steal my vote. Thanks for making my vote not count. If you see, House Member Mike Davila in Berea, tell him we really appreciate him not allowing you to vote. Great move by him. Final thing I want to mention is the Hillary Clinton scandal, last week. I talked about that. You need to keep an eye on this, folks. I think it's going to undermine her whole position. A couple announcements here going forward. Mark your calendar for Sunday, May 3rd. The Geauga Tea Party is having their fundraiser, Fiddle for Freedom. Go to geaugateaparty.com to learn about that. And on Tuesday, May 19th, the Buckeye Institute is bringing Steve Moore and Paul Atkins to Cleveland to talk about free markets. How would that be? So go to Buckeye, the Buckeye Institute, and sign up for your tickets for that. We'll be back next week. You've been listening to Tea Party Talk with TomZ. I hope you enjoyed the show.
This is former State Representative Matt Lynch inviting you to join me for Common Sense Conservative Conversation each Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. on How I See It. You can listen live or listen to the podcast anytime, 24/7 at mattlynch.com. Each week I am joined by my daughter Karen Quay on a rhino hunt as we separate the phonies from the real conservatives who are willing to stand up for faith, family, and freedom. We challenge the politically correct politicians who say one thing to get your vote, then do another once they are in office. 2015 is a new year, but too many of our politicians didn't get the message that business as usual in Washington is no longer acceptable. If our representatives in Congress are too scared or too weak to speak up, then we must raise our voices and demand they fight back against the liberal loonies. Never forget that we, the voters, are in charge, and we are the masters of our government, and we cannot let politicians ever forget it. So listen in every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. or anytime at mattlynch.com. I'm Matt Lynch, and that's how I see it.